I received quite a number of requests over the past months for a review of the Krieghoff Semprio, and as you know, I'm probably on the wrong side of the pond. So sitting here, all I could do was order one, and it took a long time for the Semprio to arrive, but finally I have one, and I can tell you I ran like a child to a Christmas present to get the Semprio from the courier. And since the Semprio has arrived, I've done nothing but think about the different firearms I have, the different what I would call total shooting solutions which have come out of Germany in the past few years. And I'm going to try to do my best to walk you through my thinking and my unique position to evaluate these different concepts in gun design. And I'll start with the subject of one of my recent videos. This is a pump action rifle made by Remington. This is the Remington Model 14. And you can see how this gun operates. The concept is good. The concept, this button unlocks the action. And I should warn you, go and get a beer or something, or a martini. This won't be a short video. So this was designed by John Pedersen, and if we're looking for rapidity of fire, this accomplishes fast firing, as you can see. And you can look at my other video. Unfortunately, it has a tubular magazine, and you have to load the cartridges through this port. So eventually, the Remington Model 14 turned into the Remington Model 141, and then it turned into the Remington 760, which got rid of the tubular magazine. This is not a magazine. This does not hold any cartridges. The cartridges are here in a clip magazine, and I've made videos on the Remington 760, and I think that you could show this design to anyone and they would say this is a highly intelligent design. It has a turning bolt locking system. The 760 has multiple lugs. Later versions have fewer lugs for a variety of reasons which I won't bother going into here. Anyway, the 760 is fast. It's intuitive. By intuitive I mean when you fire the gun, so that's locked, you fire, that motion is what I would call a natural motion without going into all the details. I think most people would agree. Now, from this 760, which is probably today worth a few $100s, we go to the Blaser R8. This is what I call one of the first examples of a German total shooting or hunting solution or gun solution. It's a straight pull action. We reviewed this before. It has the collet locking, so all you have to do is do that and the gun is ready to fire. I'll pull the trigger, and reloading is that simple motion, but it is not the pump action motion of the 760. I still have to remove my hand from the trigger, move it to the bolt, move the bolt backwards, lock the bolt, and fire. Now, there are advantages and there are disadvantages which you can think of. I'm forced to consciously make the decision to reload by moving my hand and closing the bolt. On the other hand, some viewers have sent me pictures of what goes wrong when this system fails. I don't know that this system does fail, but apparently things go wrong. And I'll show you another thing. When you open this bolt goes backwards. And no matter how well you are trained, whether it's a straight pull or a turn pull like a Mauser 98, well, you can see if I fire and I pull this back, this infringes on my face. I have to do something to make room for this bolt moving backwards. So what does that mean? Well, maybe a lot, maybe not much, but that's a feature of the R8. What do I like about the R8? I like this feature. The magazine and the trigger are one assembly. Some people don't like this, but I think this is a great safety feature. And anyway, it doesn't matter whether we like it or not. You can see right through the action. So if I go home, I can take this out of the rifle, and this is as dangerous as a hammer. This is not it will not do anything. I pop this in place fairly easily, and I have something. So that's the Blaser R8, and you know this one. This is I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that the R8 is the most popular total shooting solutions from Germany in recent times. The gun can be carried uncocked, and when you want to fire, you can fire. It's all very simple and it's intuitive. So anyway, that's the R8. This one we reviewed. This was not easy to get either on this side of the ocean. The Merkel Helix. The Merkel Helix was interesting. I like the system for removing the magazines. It has 2 buttons on both sides. That's why I had a hesitation there. I forgot that. Everything about it is well designed, and it has this ratio operation of the bolts. So the movement of this bolt handle is less than the movement of the bolt. It's on a cam. So you can see how quickly that gun shoots. Sorry about the scope. I took this to the range. I sighted it in. By the way, I have to say, the Helix, the R8, and the Semprio are exceptionally accurate rifles, no matter what you read or hear. The mechanisms themselves and the quality of the barrels are as good as it gets, and better than anything that's been available in the past. I have no idea what they're doing with barrels, but these aren't hand-cut Kriegers, I assume, but it doesn't matter. They're more than adequate for any needs you might have. So Merkel Helix, that amazing action, which I thought is exceptional. The stock design is almost a thumb hole design, but I don't focus too much on stock design because that can be changed. You can order custom stocks. You can have a stock made for you. It's the actions that I'm more interested in. Primary extraction with the Helix was a concern of mine. So what am I talking about? When you fire, I don't have any assurance that this bolt has the power to pull a cartridge out. And I may design a test for the R8, the Helix, and the Semprio later. But for now, I can tell you they all operated with conventional factory cartridges without any problem. So Merkel Helix, Blaser R8, and now we run to the Krieghoff Semprio. I don't know how many people worked on the design of this rifle, but I have to say it's an extraordinary gun. What all they included in this design. So this is how this rifle works. I close the action. Now it's ready to fire. I fire the action and I want to reload. I move the forend forward, but you can see this motion. The bolt is attached to the back of the receiver. That is completely different from the Remington, where the forend moves the bolt. The bolt, you can see the bolt moving back and forth. The bolt is actually quite short in the Remington. That may not be apparent to you. Anyway, I show it to you because the Remington, as you may know from a prior video, is a kind of an unsung hero. It was marketed as a middle range rifle, meaning the price was moderate, anybody could afford it. It wasn't equipped with a fancy stock, a kind of utilitarian rifle. But ever since I've encountered these 760s, I thought They didn't have to do it that way. This is an exceptional rifle. But anyway, now you know the design. And getting back to the Semprio, so you can see if we have to move a lot of mass forward. We have to fire. Now watch what happens when I fire. The forend, you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Watch the gap here. I won't touch anything. It moves forward on its own. And the videos that trailers that I watched from Krieghoff infer that this motion is more natural than the conventional pump action. That when you fire this Krieghoff Semprio, you can fire very quickly. Now, I have to share with you something. Unfortunately, I can't give you a video, but I had a professional shooter over here, and he doesn't agree to be filmed, which is fine. But the Semprio, I can assure you, is the fastest of these designs. The R8 is very fast. The R8 is actually a lot faster than you think. In the hands of a professional shooter, this action can be fired, I would say, almost as quickly as a semi-automatic. And you may think that was fast. That's slow compared to the professional shooter. Anyway, that sounds funny, but I had to do it. The Helix is incredibly fast. It's almost like the Fortner biathlon rifle, if you know the Fortner action from the Olympics, which I should do a video on. So very fast, but because you have to remove your hand from the trigger, there is an inherent loss of time. So again, I'm not this kind of hunter. I'm not hunting for milliseconds, but some people are, and especially in driven wild boar hunting, that's a factor, and in other things. And anyway, who am I to judge? If you're after speed, these are fast guns, but I can tell you nothing is as fast as the Semprio. This action, if you get the timing right, this is quicker than a semi-automatic, and we actually timed it. The motion is so fast. And other than that, I can show you a few other features, just changing subjects and to be a little less dramatic. So it has a number of aspects to it. I mean, as I said at the beginning, the thought that went into this is extraordinary. So this, I don't know what to call it, lever, when it's forward, the gun is cocked. So it's kind of like a hammer, but the hammers we're used to pulling back on this side of the Atlantic. But that's okay, we can get used to that. So that we just fired. If we decide we don't want to fire, you push this button down. This is all on the Krieghoff videos, by the way. You can watch better versions of things than I can show you. But anyway, you push this down, and now it's uncocked. And if you turn this lever to the side and push it forward, now we can move the whole action. And this is the counterintuitive part. You're moving the barrel, the whole contraption forward. And then if you want to take it apart, you just move this lever and the whole gun comes apart. Now, the Blazer, you can take the barrel off. Same with the Helix. But, I mean, this is unique by any measure. And then reassembly is that simple. So, to repeat, and we won't do the whole thing again, but you take it apart like that. If you want to remove the magazine, well, you can see we rotated this, pushed it forward. Now we can take the magazine out, and there it is. I noticed that magazine kind of rattles around. Some people would think, well, that's not a great idea. But when you slam it shut, there's no rattle. It's captured within. There's another thing, which I mentioned at the beginning, the R8. If something goes wrong, you're exposed to high pressure powders. If something goes wrong in the Semprio, look at this thing. There's an opening here which is good for gas and brass or whatever comes out of I'm assuming the faulty cartridge. You're completely safe. So altogether, I had to say, this is a very complicated firearm with what I would call an extreme intelligence to it. I don't know how long they took to develop it. They used beautiful Turkish walnut. I think you can get a thumbhole stock. I think you can buy a hunter orange stock and so on, and probably there will be more options available. But I mean, an exceptional firearm. There are different ways of making this gun secure, and there, in this position, nothing can happen, and it's a little bit of a redundancy. You can lock the gun open and closed in different positions, and I'm assuming that this corresponds with German law, but I don't know German law, so all I can say is it does everything that it's supposed to do, and it may be, probably arguably, one of the safest firearms, if not the safest firearm out there, because there are so many ways and positions to disable the mechanism. And there's an excellent Krieghoff video, as I mentioned, which covers everything in greater detail. As usual, you can replace the barrels, and the whole mechanism, I mean, arrived in this case. So when I ran to get it from, I'm not doing it properly, but you can see everything goes into this case. Now, one thing I didn't get, and then you can close it up. One thing I didn't get was the scope mount, which is like, I don't know, $500 or more. So I didn't rush to buy that. But so you receive your Semprio. This is a gun that does many things, and yet it is not difficult. It is not difficult to work with. Once you get an idea of what they're up to, it's something else. Anyhow, I thought, because of the number of requests I had from Sweden and Finland and Germany and Austria and other places, I should probably get a hold of these firearms because they are totally unique. These are not Mausers. They make a number of assumptions about the quality of ammunition, but we live in an age where ammunition is high quality, and we don't have to worry about the brass getting stuck in the chamber as much. But I'm going to do some testing on primary extraction, which, as I said, was still a concern of mine. But everything else about it, especially this Semprio, if you want to own a firearm that is entirely unique, this Semprio is something else. And don't be deterred by this motion. This at first you think, well, this doesn't make any sense. But it does. This is quicker than this. It's quicker than this. I haven't timed it against the Remington 760. I don't know. That's fast, but maybe the Semprio is faster. Anyway, who cares? We're talking about milliseconds, and this is not Olympic skiing. Those are extremely fast actions. But I don't want to put everybody to sleep with my talking. So, very exciting times for all people who are interested in guns. Whether you buy the R8 or the Helix or the Semprio, right now, because of its amazing engineering, I'm leaning toward the Semprio. Game laws are different, and a fellow or a few people from the UK told me they can't even own these, which I don't understand, but I don't understand a lot of things. So I'm sorry that you can't buy these in the UK, but excellent rifles. And I guess the best thing to do is, if it's legal in your area, just head to the gun shop, look at the R8, look at the Helix, look at the Heim SR31, which I reviewed in a prior video, and then decide for yourself. And I have to say, this Semprio is something else. You could look at the Browning Morale, but that's, well, have a look at it and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's an adapted semi-automatic, and there are other versions of that as well. But there it is. So for those of you that asked me to review it, I hope I did a fair job. And it's a little bit heavy, but the walnut is very dense. It wouldn't be so heavy if I had a synthetic stock. And that is it. So Krieghoff Semprio. And I hope that's useful for you, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.